Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Top 10 edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com. You can find cool stuff in stock every day, and check out our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. And check out our Altar Sleeves. Support the show by using the code MAGICMICS at checkout for 5% off anything in the Altar Sleeve store. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl.
Hey, guys.
Ruben Bressler.
Good afternoon. How's it going?
Oh, it's a wonderful Monday as we record these things.
I hate Mondays.
You got a case
but
of them?
I love lasagna.
Wow. Garfield, yep, the show host. That's what we got.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's fine. Well, we also begin with our choice of the top comment from last week in a segment we call Honorable Mention, where Ruben will tell us who was the most eloquent and letting us know what card we did not choose as one of our top 10, or as one of our retro top 10 cons block cards. Ruben?
Well, Craig Layland knows the way to my heart, and it's a good way to metagame the system. My pick for best cons block card left off the list is Assault Formation.
Cool.
I cannot begin to count just how many times I use Wall of Frost to smash in for 7 on turn 4. I thought I was a genius at that F&M. Anything that allows defenders to attack is all right in my book.
Assault Formation originally showed up in Dragon's Tarkir. It's a green, a generic mana for a rare enchantment that says each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. For 1 green, target creature with Defender can attack this turn as though if it didn't have Defender. And for 2 generic and a green, creatures you control get +0/+1 until end of turn. Does it all. Yeah. Just does everything. Turns everything.
And as someone with an Arcades the Strategist deck, well, you did it. You figured out how to get the $50 gift certificate.
They metagamed it. That's what they did.
Smart. It's a good move.
Yeah, good play. Well, congratulations to Craig. Please contact us on social media for your prize. Thanks again to CoolStuffInc.com for sponsoring this giveaway. And stay tuned for our top 10 list this week, and maybe you can win next week's free gift certificate, because it's time to talk about the top 10 specialty products. This is a whole net of weird stuff Wizards has made over the years.
Yeah, this was a fun list to put together. The way I defined this in my head was things that you can buy that aren't packs or boxes of random Magic cards is how I sort of defined it in my head. Which meant that I had this massive swath of varying different types of products. And so it was a fun thing.
Yeah. How did you get your list, MG Nerd?
So I was a little torn on how I wanted to categorize my list. So I wanted it to be mostly like a set of thing, like something that I didn't want it to be like a pre-release card or like a one of thing. But there are a couple of things on my list that were kind of gray area. So it's a set of things, but not necessarily all purchased in one set, if that makes sense. Most of them are.
Yeah, my criteria for this was basically not main premiere sets and not just the limited, focus, the conspiracies of the world or the battle bonds. But some of the other ones I did include, which would violate Ruben's rules, as it were.
Well, it's fine. I think even one of mine violates my own rule. So, because this is it made me happy and it has good memories for me. So.
Well, you're going to wait just a minute for my number 10 because it's higher on somebody else's list. But that means we can get started with the number 10 from Ruben. What you got?
I'm going to start with one that I have memories of seeing arrive at Star City Games while I was working there. It was a big deal when Commander's Arsenal showed up.
It was.
And for good reason. My number 10 is Commander's Arsenal. This was a box that was released in November of 2012, announced at Comic-Con earlier that year, and it had a bunch of oversized commanders, including Sliver Queen, which was a big deal at the time because that was on the reserved list. Yeah. And so they figured out a way to print Sliver Queen without really printing Sliver Queen, which I thought was interesting. A lot of other of those oversized commanders were popular. And then there was a bunch of regular sized foils with the premium foiling that had just recently come out. Every card that was there was either a first time foil, or if it wasn't a first time foil, it was a first time foil with new art. So Command Tower, Mind's Eye, Rhystic Study with the New Border, for example, those all had a brand new foiling process and a brand new foil kind of art. And then you had the Mimeoplasm or Calia, which, you know, were first time foils.
Yeah, that was the one product back in the day. That was one product I was like, "Hey, Wizards, can I please have a Commander's Arsenal?" Like, I don't ask for a lot, but I really wanted a Commander's Arsenal, and they actually gave me one, which was really awesome. I think I gave it away or something. I can't remember what I did with it, but I should have kept it because it's worth like $1 million now, I'm sure. Because back then it was worth like $300 something before you knew it. So
those things were expensive.
Yeah, super expensive. And they had that really cool life counter thing in there.
The life counter was another thing. I don't think it premiered in Commander's Arsenal.
You sure?
I might be mistaken. It might have premiered in Commander's Arsenal.
I think it showed up there first. I may be mistaken, but it's been a long time.
If it did, then that's another. I mean, it's another reason to have it on the list.
Yeah, it's terrific. All right, Nerd Girl, what you got for number 10?
So my number 10 is a car or a set that I kind of gave an honorary slot to. It's not something that I think is particularly good for me, but I think it's something that is very good for collectors, and I think it makes a lot of people very excited, and that is the From the Vault 20 set, which is a 20th anniversary for Magic. It was full of 20 cards that are all very iconic for competitive winning decks throughout Magic's history. So it has cards like Fact or Fiction or Dark Ritual, Green Sun Zenith, Jace the Mind Sculptor. So no matter like if you left Magic and came back, you know, it doesn't really matter where you were in Magic's history as far as like when you've played the game. There's something in this set for everybody to be excited about, which I think is really neat and a great, you know, homage to all of what Magic has done over the years.
Yeah, these days going for about $150 or so. And there were some people saying that because this is when they reprinted Jace the Mind Sculptor. And it had been a minute before that. I think this was the first reprinting of Jace. I could be wrong on that.
You're right.
But either way, this was, you know, hey, it actually sounded like Wizards cared about tournament play. Isn't that weird? Remember what happened when they cared about tournament play? We got tournament play cards. So some people were like, well, they kind of, you know, they held back a little bit on some of the tournament years because they're going to be all the, you know, they'd be worth $1 million or whatever. But overall, I thought this list was really sweet. And there's a ton of really awesome cards to collect from this thing.
Yeah, I mean, not just Jace the Mind Sculptor and Green Sun Zenith, which are clearly the headliners at the time. You know, you've got cards that nowadays have completely exploded in value. I mean, I don't know if you've looked at Ink Eye's Servant of Oni recently, but it's been printed like 5 times and they're $20 a piece or something. So it had foil Finhorn elves in it, which was fun, you know. So it did some really cool stuff. I enjoyed this one.
Yeah, they did some really sweet stuff with this release. I liked it. All right, let's move on here to number 9. I have a number 9. I'm very excited about it, but we'll get to Ruben's first because I'm gonna look up some stuff.
Well, no, you won't, because this is my one higher.
Well, in that case,
pick me.
Nerd Girl, what's your number 9?
I was just saying because you wanted to look some stuff up, so
yeah, go for it.
Being overly excited. So, going through, I'm not a huge Secret Lair fan in general because it seems like they're just producing them so quickly. They're a little less exciting for me, but there have been a couple that stood out that are super cute. I still haven't bought any of them, but like 1 or 2 made my list, and I really like the We Hope You Like Squirrels is my number 9.
There you go.
Oh my goodness! If you look at some of the art on these cards, it is absurd. And
what
like
cards
said,
are included?
Crows and Beast, Squirrel Mob. My favorite was the Squirrel Wrangler.
Yeah,
it's just like this little grumpy boy sitting on like a branch with all of these squirrels on it. And like, I honestly don't even know what these cards do, but like even the squirrel token is just, it's so majestic.
That's awesome.
It's an art choice here for this one for me, but I thought it was really neat.
I got to play a friend of mine's Chatterfang Commander deck recently, and basically every card from I Hope You Like Squirrels was in it, and it is some of the most fun I've ever had playing Commander.
Yeah, this is the Squirrel Mob, Squirrel Wrangler, Croson Beast, Chatter of the Squirrel, that's in there, as well as Swarm Yard, which was weirdly expensive. That card is weirdly expensive. Well, for my number 9, this was a way to play Magic, a totally different way to play Magic. Now, that back in the day, this meant kind of a lot more than it kind of does now. Like, I mean, obviously they played formats, but back then the idea of creating a supplemental set that like fundamentally changed the way Magic worked was really exciting. I really enjoyed Plane Chase when it first showed up. Plane Chase showed up in September 4th, 2009. When it first showed up for the first round. It came again another couple years later, and it kind of died out, for lack of a better term, but it was a casual game variant that you had different plane cards, and every plane card had something weird that would affect the game. Your mana's doubled, or someone draws extra cards, or some things don't untap, or whatever, and you could roll the planar die, which had a very magical symbol, and if you hit the magical symbol, you got to go to the next plane. Otherwise, you, I guess, did the effect on the card or something. I can't remember exactly how it worked. But it was really sweet, and you could do that to kind of mix your game up a little bit.
Yeah. I've played Plane Shift a number of times, and it was a wild thing. Like, there were just some planes that would superpower your deck. There were some planes that would completely lock everybody out, and it was a fun time, but it was a lot of randomization for sure.
It's
I did not play that set.
Yeah, it's swingy. Right?
Yeah, it's very swingy.
Swingy. And that's kind of what it meant to be. That's cool. But I enjoyed Plane Chase. It was fun. Yeah. All right. Let's move on here to number 8. Ruben, what's your number 8?
My number 8, it doesn't, it doesn't really fit the definition of what I'm talking about, but it holds a near and dear place to my heart. There have been 78 bundles, previously known as fat packs, printed in the history of Magic. And they were first introduced with Mercadian Masks. Mm-hmm. And the Mercadian Masks Fat Pack holds a very special place in my heart. And so that's my number 8. It was one of the first things I bought for myself. And it came with the Mercadian Masks novel. And I remember reading the Mercadian Masks novel. It was the first of the Magic novels that I ever read, and I really loved the story and how I could see the moments from the book on the cards. And there was a visual guide to like
Mercadia?
how to play Magic. It wasn't even a pull-out guide on Mercadia. Although there was like a map of Mercadia. Yeah, I think in the book there was a map of like where these places were. And I just remember it very fondly. And it also came with a tournament pack, like one of those old sealed decks, and 2 premium basic lands. I think is what it came with. So nice. That was a really fun product for me.
Yeah, I have that novel as well.
Oh, that's you read
awesome.
That one? Did you?
I don't know. So I, as a kid, I didn't buy the set, but I know I bought like 4 or 5 novels, and I read a few of them. I don't honestly remember which ones at this point. I was pretty young, and I still have them buried in a box, and I've been meaning to revisit them, but I know exactly what cover you're talking about and everything. It was a pretty iconic book at the time for Magic.
I mean, Mercadian Masks was released, let's see here. It was October 1999. So October 99. And this was the first set that had 6th edition rules with it. The first, release. So you could put damage on the stack for the first time back in the day. Hell, the stack existed officially at that point, which was cool. Yeah. But I like the fat packs with novels. Those are fun.
I started in 2000. So like they were, that book and that set was still in the store around that time.
Like those novels, like if there's one thing I can say I 100% took for granted was the novels being included in the fat pack as just like a given, an expectation. You're like, oh, it's something in the books in the fat pack. It's always going to be that way until they stop doing that, like about a couple years later. Oh boy. Nerd Girl, what's your number 8?
So my number 8 is the second of those cute ones. They're pretty low on my list again, just because, whether or not you like that specific theme is neither here nor there. It just kind of depends on what it is that you like for flavor. But I think that this one I put a little higher on the list because it's a bit cuter. And I think it also works a little bit more with a themey deck. And that is, oh my God, Kittens.
That's my number 10.
The Secret Lair. That was your higher. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was my higher. Yeah.
Holy smokes. If you guys have not seen the art on these cards, the Weatherlight Duelist I don't even know.
Yeah, let's take a look here. Yeah, this was among the first ever secret layers. And this, as far as I know, this is actually the most expensive secret layer that exists. Last I looked, it was like almost $250, which is good because I got one right up there on the shelf, which is nice because this thing was awesome. And when I saw something this stupidly cute, the Regal Caracal, the Arabo Roar of the World, Miri Weatherlight Duelist, Kasali Slingers, Lien and War Leader, along with 2 super cute tokens, like this to me was an easy home run. And this is sort of, they wanted to start with a good first impression, and this to me was a fantastic first impression. And I snapped that thing up real fast. It was awesome.
I have the sleeve for it. I've collected most of the secret layer sleeves either through there's like a site where you can get the codes and things, but I don't really collect the secret layers. But if there were one that I were to get, this would probably be it. They're very cute and the art is just pretty as well. Like the Roar of the World, that one.
Yeah.
What I have found,
Araba.
Yeah, Araba.
Araba.
Yeah, what I have found over the years is the more things I can pick up that I am able to financially do so, and don't put me in any straits or anything, and I can just put in a closet, just throw it back there. Because had I kept my cube for another 5 years, it would have been worth 7 times or whatever as much as I got for it at the time. So that's just on me. So it's a good learning lesson, and particularly, and even when you see stuff today, like, the sealed Mario 64 going for $1 bajillion. If you can find something cool, pop culture-ish, that's in really great condition, and you are okay with like not messing with it, opening it, playing with it, like throw it in the closet. You'd be surprised what happens in 20 years when somebody all of a sudden really wants that Pokemon whatever that came out literally yesterday, but they can't find it in 2042 or whatever. Just kind of how it works. Goodness. All right, let's move on here to my number 8. My number 8 is very similar in ways to Plane Chase in that it's a different way to play. And I really thought that was cool because, at the time, the idea of having one person be like super duper powerful and other people be all against the one person, this being the arch enemy. Arch enemy had 4 game packs, each consisting of 20 oversized scheme cards. So they would have schemes that had like way over the top names, which were all kinds of craziness. The deck names being like Assemble the Doomsday Machine and stuff. And the schemes are like, I know all, I see all, introductions are in order, like your fate is thrice sealed. And all these cards were stupidly overpowered because you had to play against like 3 to 4 different people. So it was a whole different way to play, and I enjoyed it. I'm not shocked it's not still around per se, but it was a good time while it lasted. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. The names of the arch enemy schemes are my favorite.
They're wonderful.
They are very D&D like, the dead shall serve, every last vestige shall rot. Like they're these big sweeping arch enemy phrases, and I think that it was a cute idea that I wish had paid off more.
Very flavorful. Or like when they put all of the, like you were saying, the names of them, the text, it was just, it had a lot. It felt like they put a lot of time and energy into making something sweet, which now as we pump out more and more products, we're starting to lose a lot of that. Like which we touched on like briefly in a previous episode with the Keldheim, like all of the realms of Keldheim. We didn't get the same like feeling about it like we do for, some of the other guilds, right? But with this set, I think it was really, really cool.
And when, to be able to have the words, when you set this scheme in motion, like that is super duper cool. And some of these are worth some money. I mean, there's one here that, when you set this scheme in motion, destroys 3 non-land permanents. This is Tooth, Claw, and Tail. But it's worth $20. So I remember back in the day, like at SCG, man, we could not like give these things away. We were selling them in bundles. We're like, just buy the schemes, please. Here's all the schemes.
The fate of the flammable is $30.
Mm-hmm. Who knew? Wow. Let's move on here to number 7. Ruben, what you got?
My number 7 is from a collection of expansions. They didn't make a ton of these. But I really enjoyed what they were doing with them. They wanted to make a certain play style have foil cards, and really the best of the group, in my opinion, was Premium Deck Series Graveborn.
Oh, sweet.
And I've really enjoyed Premium Deck Series Graveborn. It first of all might have the best set symbol of all time. This little skull
Mhm.
for the set symbol is incredibly
Delightful.
cute.
Yeah.
Just an amazing thing. This also had the new wording for Animate Dead, which had not had a reprint in a long time, like since 5th edition, I think, was the last time that Animate Dead had a update in wording on physical cards. So that was nice to have. And then there was a bunch of new art available as well, not just on new foils, but you also had new art for Animate Dead and new art for Cabal Therapy. So this was a fun time.
Yeah, this was cool. But the premium deck series was weird, right? It did the slivers, it did the burn deck, and then it did the Graveborn stuff.
Mhm.
It didn't do a blue deck, for example, which I think would have been ridiculous because the blue stuff is mainly the tournament player stuff. That's what the tournament players like foils. Most casuals tend to not like foils. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the exact research. Obviously, this is just what I've seen in my time in the industry or whatever. But to create kind of like a very casual product for a audience that doesn't like what you're showcasing is just a little weird. But that said, it came out in November 2011, and I thought it was cool and neat. But yeah, over time, it felt like, there was problems with foiling, and the foils, like, they were like super weirdly foiled, and when they would curl hard. And so that was kind of frustrating in many ways. But there was a lot of value in this deck. It's really sweet.
I am not a fan of most of the alternate foiling methods that you'll see in like from the vault type stuff. Yeah, so the foiling, I don't know, it seems like it's a heftier foil process because it's like the coat is seems to be thicker. I think that is what kind of messes with them. And also it just doesn't look as good to me personally.
This is like if you were to play in a tournament and everything is like, even if you have a couple foils maybe in there, but you have 4 of the from the vault whatever foils of the card that you really want to draw and or need, you're gonna have a really awkward conversation with the head judge. Just letting you know, that's the thing. Nerd Girl, what's number 7?
So my number 7 is the last of the From the Vaults. So I thought that this is another set that was very appealing to collectors and something that I personally did as a kid. So I've always really liked dragons. And so From the Vault Dragons, I thought was a really neat idea for collectors, not necessarily to play, but also I do know that like dragon EDH decks where people just build it for the flavor is pretty common. So that is a nice item to pick up, I think, for a lot of people. And overall, just like a really well-rounded product that appealed to a lot of people.
Yeah, this thing had a ton of very expensive cards. This is the most expensive from the vaults, $330 plus right now on eBay. People love dragons. They love dragons. They love angels and they love dragons. And if you just put and it doesn't matter, like if the tournament player doesn't like them, they're going to be successful because like there's always that guy with the dragon deck and he needs every dragon. And there's the dragon collectors and the people who like to play the casual dragon decks. And it's just like people love the dragons. And this one was just chock full of value. And Kakusho is like still $20+. Sees absolutely zero play anywhere but the kitchen table. $20+, it will remain.
This is my number 9. I agree. Yes. This is the best from the vault. Tan and Grace and I won a From the Vault Dragons in a side event, a 2-headed giant side event at the first GP Vegas. And then we sold it immediately for like $80. From the Vault Dragons did a couple of notable things. Did you know that From the Vault Dragons is the first time a spin down appeared in a Magic product?
Ooh,
spin down 20-sided die. Very first one was in From the Vault Dragons. I know, wild, right?
That's weird.
Hellkite Overlord appeared in From the Vault Dragons first. Yeah. Before it came out in Shards of Alara, because this came out before Shards of Alara.
They did that for a little while, didn't they? That was weird.
A little bit.
Yeah.
This one I remember because it was a good oath target in Vintage, and so you had to buy a From the Vault Dragons to play in Vintage tournaments for like a month and a half, which was pretty funny. New art for Nicol Bolas, new art for Rith the Awakener. First time Thunder Dragon had the new border. A bunch of the 8th edition card frames were the first. This was like their first time getting the post 8th edition card frame. So, you could finally get like Draco in or Ebon Dragon in a updated card frame. This is just the best from the vault, in my opinion.
It's pretty terrific, but I will argue about that here in just a few picks.
Sure.
Draco is the first rare that I opened that I was very excited about as a kid.
Oh, nice.
Like, it could be good or whatever, but I thought Draco was so cool.
Yeah, it's super neat. It's cool looking. All right. Well, for my number 7, this was one of my favorite products. I thought this was just brilliant. This is one of those products that's like, it's just perfect. It didn't need to be any different. It has 2 decks in it, and I swear to you, every single card in both those decks is exactly what they're supposed to be. In Dual Decks, Jace versus Chandra. They didn't go back to any other dual deck and make the Japanese version of it. Oh, no, no, no. Only this one gets to have that honor because it's dope. It's also like 120 plus now for the English version, which is gross. Because in it are 2 decks designed by Eric Lauer, absolutely incredible. Like, one of the best creatures in the red deck is the 3-mana 2/2 Puma that has protection from blue. And like, there's all these weird little cards that do all these exact little things to make gameplay of this so much fun. I played these dual decks a whole bunch back in the day, and I can tell you, this was the best that I had ever played of the dual decks. It was just perfect.
Yeah, I mean, you also have Jace versus Chandra, probably the 2 most iconic characters in Magic. It told you what blue does. It told you what red does. It's like a great introduction to Magic.
Yeah, this was really sweet.
I like all the dual decks. Like, I think they're one of the best products that they make for new players, as well as people just coming back to the game. It is a way that you can, for a low cost, grab 2 decks, play them, and actually get some really cool interactions, and that they're like designed to go with each other. I totally agree that the cards in those decks are exactly the way they're supposed to be. They played very well. Some of them are a little imbalanced, but that's usually not that important when you have like players who are newer to the game or whatever. So I think it just makes it a really, really well-rounded product.
Right, because think of it this way. They did in November 2008, the original came out. Then they did the Japanese version later in December 2010. And then 4 years after that, in December 2014, they did the Dual Decks Anthology, and this was one of them.
Yep.
Because this dual deck freaking rules. I assure you, this dual deck is dope. All right, let's move on here to our number 6. Ruben, what you got?
My number 6 is a series that I wanted to continue. Magic, I feel like screwed up. I mean, personally, I think they screwed up by not continuing the Signature Spellbook series, because I love the Signature Spellbook idea. I think it's a genius concept. It explains who their main characters are, and it lets them reprint cards that they might not otherwise be able to reprint. And I thought that the timing of Signature Spellbook Gideon was perfect, because Gideon had his big story moment in War of the Spark. You get Signature Spellbook Gideon, and it's got all of the story beats in there. You've got Path to Exile, you've got Martyr's Bond, you've got True Conviction, you've got Rest in Peace, and then you have the Richard Kane Ferguson illustrated Black Blade Reforged.
Yeet.
Which first time he'd illustrated a card in like 2 decades, and you get it with the new legendary card frame.
Oof.
You get the white lines in the text, or the white text on the yellow of the white cards. I just love the look, the flavor, the feel of Signature Spellbook Gideon.
This was like, it wasn't a bad idea per se, but it felt like it didn't really cater to any one particular market so much that it almost like canceled itself out, because the casuals are like, well, there's a foil in there. They don't necessarily like a foil per se, or, the one they want, they can just buy it. There's the alternate art looking stuff. But I don't know, like, and there's some value in there. So the collectors kind of liked it, but there wasn't a lot of value in there. So like, it hasn't really aged that well. And then none of them have. They're all like still $20-ish or whatever. And so like, I liked the idea. I did, I just felt like if this was what From the Vault was supposed to be now, it didn't work. I didn't feel like it worked, it wasn't good enough. It was weird.
I can see that.
I liked the timing of the Gideon thing. That was perfect. The way that worked. And
I just would have liked to have seen more of the story. The Signature Spellbook idea is so strong from a flavor standpoint. So strong, in fact, that we've done our Signature Spellbooks for this show.
It's true.
So I wish that it had resonated more. It didn't. But of the group, Gideon, I think, is the best one.
Yeah. It's very flavorful. It's got a lot of storyline, which I could definitely see why that would appeal so strongly to you. Whereas I'm the type of player that I have no idea what the World of Warcraft storyline is.
Sure.
And I've been playing that game for infinite years now.
Long
I have
time.
carpal tunnel because of it. But like,
Right.
does a story exist? I don't know. So like that is kind of going to go under the radar for a huge portion of the player base for Magic, I think. And that's probably why it did maybe not do as well as it could have.
Sure.
Maybe.
That's why
It's
it cracked
unfortunate.
my top 10 list and nobody else's.
That's
And that's
right.
okay.
Oh yeah, Nerd Girl. What's number 6?
My number 6 is the very first, man. So this is a product that I personally did a ton of grinding for and acquired a bunch of them. This product paid my rent for several months. Goodness gracious. So living in San Diego, I was able to go to San Diego Comic-Con. And this was the first year. My number 6 is the San Diego 2013 blacked out Planeswalker set. It was under the radar. People really didn't know about it. Most of the people at Comic-Con, like only a small fraction of them play Magic. So it was not a super highly sought after item there. So I was hustling the line, asking people like, hey, you're going to go buy this Transformer thing. Can you buy it? Because you were only allowed to buy one. And you had to get a special ticket to even get in line. And some of those tickets you have to wait in line like overnight outside to get. So
Jeez.
a lot of times I'd be like, hey, I'll give you an extra $20 or whatever if you purchase this thing for me because you're not going to buy it anyway. And they're like, oh, great, I'll make $20.
Right.
And my car was packed. I think I got like 15 or 20 of these like day one. There was just so many. I know they're worth like $1 bajillion. It's one of the few that have really maintained value because they've started overprinting a lot of that stuff.
Right.
But yeah, this was a really cool experience as like a grinder of product. And I thought that the product itself was really cool. So
Remember that time they made Garrick's axe? Well, that was the most insane thing ever.
So that was, yeah, the next one.
That was
I
the
still
next
have an
year,
axe.
and
That was the
we
next
might
year.
talk about that on someone else's list.
Well, we very well might. Who knows? I don't know. Well, my number 6 beyond that one, which was super cool. I really loved the look of that. I thought it was a really cool gimmick for a very long time. And then they tried to do the HasCon thing, and that's the other set of promo stuff. But either way, those Planeswalkers were awesome, and I loved them. And so, yeah.
you got to stop talking about our lists, man.
I know,
we
right?
got the rest of the top 5 to go.
I don't know what's on your list, man. I'm just riffing. Well, look, my number 6 rather, is to this day still part of Magic. I feel like the way things are going, they're not gonna be. But who knows? I don't know. Do know that I really enjoy Challenger decks. Challenger decks are 75 cards, full blown 75 card decks that you can buy off the shelf, throw them in some sleeves, shuffle them up, play some FNM, and you have a honest to God, actual deck that isn't going to embarrass you because any of the intro decks or whatever, or the intro Planeswalker decks, none of that stuff's going to work out for you. It never has ever. But at least once you can get a powered down version of some of the most powerful decks in Standard at the time when this first came out for the Kaladesh block or Kaladesh Standard. This where they had half of it was rares, like 32 something rares in that Challenger deck for Mardu
basically
vehicles.
had Mardu vehicles. Yeah,
It was
you had the
crazy.
full Mardu vehicles.
You had 4
deck.
Heart of Kieran in there. That was nuts.
You had the full Hazaret deck. You had
Yeah.
the full Second Sunrise deck. Yeah, the deck was chock full of value.
Yeah, this is
It's a good starting point for anybody who's just getting into Magic, but like, that if you want to sit someone down into an FNM and they don't really like have a deck, this is a good spot. I would not usually recommend that for new players, but if you are trying to bridge that gap, this is the perfect product for that.
Yeah, the idea now, look, what they did at first was what they always do. When they do something for the first time, they kind of went too far. They kind of gave a little too much value. Maybe you didn't need a whole playset of Mythics, for example. So the next one they came out the year after, this was for Ixalan Standard. This is where they had 2 Jadelight Rangers in the Explore deck when you need 4 Jadelight Explorers in the Explore deck or whatever, or Jadelight Rangers. And so that to me was the clear sign somebody said you got to pull back. And I'm like, guys, you screwed it up. What was so exciting about these was the value, was the fact that you could get a full blown deck right there for this rare, for that rare.
Excuse me, you mean the excitement of the deck?
The excitement. So exciting.
Yes.
Cards are
excitement
so exciting.
is how yes.
We don't say the
The
dollar
manufacturer suggested retail excitement.
word. Nice. Well, I thought they were cool and I like them. Let's move on here to number 5. Ruben, what you got?
My number 5 is my favorite of the dual decks. And I've had a lot of experience playing the dual decks. And I oftentimes find that after playing the dual decks for a while, I just know one of them is going to beat the other one, like a lot of the time. Like I love Phyrexia versus the Coalition. I just know how that's going to happen. Like I played Might versus Magic, I think 3 times. And I was like, I'm done. I can't with this one anymore.
Was that Storm and Walmart?
That was Storm and Walmart. Yes. Most of the dual decks, even Jace versus Chandra, at a certain point, I was like, I can't really win with Chandra anymore. Like once I know where the crux points are. But there's at least one dual deck that I could think of. And I think this was the only dual deck I could think of where I was like, this is an even match. There were 2 actually. There were 2 dual decks where I would like, it's actually a 50-50 even match. And I did not put Jace versus Vraska on my list because I don't like the art of the Planeswalkers in that one. Because I thought the alternate art for those were stupid. But Sorin versus Tybalt.
Okay.
Every game of Sorin versus Tybalt is a new, interesting, different game. It's a 50-50 matchup. The decks are super fun. And the rivalry between the characters of Sorin versus Tybalt, it's like, why? Like, where did that even come from? But it turns out they did have a rivalry in the story based on their opinions of what should happen to the human population. Which I think was kind of wild. Yeah, because Tybalt is this crazy pain magic dude who's just like, yeah, screw them. Like, they're tools to be played with. And Soren's like, no, the humans are like our most important natural resource, which is a hilarious argument to have.
Their food.
Between like lawful evil and chaotic evil. And when you see it as like, oh, that shouldn't be a rivalry, but in the story it actually is, which I really enjoy.
Nice. This was released in March 2013 and was really fun. I remember playing this one and was having a lot of fun with this one.
And I like they printed Sulfuric Vortex in this one again, which was beginning to creep up. There's some good EDH staples.
And Tybalt the Fiend-Blooded, you two play with the worst.
Listen, the worst Planeswalker, ever. But maybe the top 10 non-pack MTG product.
There you go. All right. Nerd Girl was
that
number 5.
Important. Yeah. So my number 5 is my 1 higher.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to finish typing Sorin versus Tybalt there so I can copy and paste the higher there. All right, cool. So for my number 5, this is my From the Vault selection because I really like this one. Also, it's very, very special. Because Wizards broke rules. You were not supposed to break rules, especially the reserved list. I even heard today on LSV stream, someone said, oh, there's a rumor Hasbro's getting rid of the reserve list. And I'm like, lol. Because if you'd only seen the reaction to From the Vault Relics, From the Vault Relics was an incredible From the Vault. This is the one that included freaking Masticore on the reserve list. It included Karn Silver Golem on the reserve list. And what was the last? Mox Diamond. It included Mox freaking Diamond in this thing. Oh my God. And this actually wasn't the thing that caused people to go nuts. We actually just talked about it. Phyrexian versus the Coalition is where they put Phyrexian Negator originally on the reserve list, front and center, right there in the front of the product, right there in Walmart, and that flipped everybody's lid, and they freaked out and said, okay, no more foils, we won't sell foil Black Lotuses, but they might, I don't know. They then promised to never do that again. There's a blog talk thing I looked up about, Rosewater's talking about why did you change it after From the Vault? And they said, well, you can't work with Logic. Logic's not working, even though every retailer doesn't like it. The reserve list exists. This is the exception, and it's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually a little surprised this one isn't more expensive than From the Vault Dragons. Because it has freaking Mox Diamond in it. I mean, period. Right? And artifacts are always going to be more popular because they go in every deck, and right. It's so. Yeah, I remember this one coming out, and there was huge consternation about it for sure.
Yeah. This feels like it caters a little bit more to more of the competitive market versus From the Vault's Dragon, which is just collector gloriousness, EDH, excitement as well. So, I mean, it could just be that there is just more people in that market, which drives the price up.
I would argue this one is the most expensive, not close. I see it on eBay for about $2,000, anywhere from
Jeez.
1,500 to 1,800 to 2,200.
I thought you said that Dragons was.
No. Well, it was one of the most expensive at $330. This one
2,000 is a mite bigger.
Okay.
It's a yes.
My goodness.
It is because it's got a reserve list card in it, so I understand.
That definitely makes sense. I, like Ruben, thought when you said that the Dragons was the most expensive, I thought that it's interesting that one with Mox Diamond is cheaper, but
sorry if I said
certainly
most
not.
expensive, I meant
No.
one of.
Oh no,
the,
it was probably a Mandela effect situation, but we've set the record straight. This one is
that's a lot of money.
A lot of dollars.
Just a couple of dollars.
Just a smidge. You know what I mean? Just a house payment here or there. Whatever. All right, so we were to number 4. Ruben, what you got?
I am so when we were coming up with a list, I had a couple in my head. I was like, they need to be on my list. And I think the top 4 are all from memory. I just was like, these are my top 4. And because they just hold such a special place in my heart. My number 4 is the 1997 World Championship decks.
Nice.
They started in 1997. There were 8 of them ever. The 1997 version is the only time that the winner, the finalist, and the 2 semifinalists were the decks chosen, because they were all 4 different decks.
Nice.
The winner was Jakob Slemmer with the 5-color black. You had a bunch of Black Knights and Knights of Stromgald and aggressive things backed up by like Earthquake and Mana War and a bunch of random other stuff, because you had Gemstone Mines and City of Brasses and stuff. Wow. Second place was like a Jeskai control kind of thing that had Frenetic Efreet.
And Wildfire Emissary. I love that
Wildfire
card.
Emissary. That's a nice one.
That card could not be bolted. That was why
or
they played
swords.
It.
Bolt or swords.
Bolt
it was the only
swords.
card that couldn't be either of those things at that price. Green Stompy at number 3. And Paul McCabe's sort of red-blue tempo thing at number 4. And another thing that came with these packs, which I imagine are probably the most expensive part of this thing these days, were they came with gold-bordered proxyable blanks. You got 12 blank proxy cards, which you could then personalize or make different versions of. And they certainly were very popular. And so 60 card decks with 15 card sideboards. All of the cards had player autographs. And yeah, I just loved this. I love this thing.
All of the gold border stuff is really cool.
Yeah, and now it's getting very expensive, apparently. I see $90+ for one, $300 for another one.
I believe it.
Yeah, totally. Because these cards are like cool, unique. They're not like reserve list cards, but they're certainly not wanting to make more gold bordered cards. Mm-hmm. So it is probably expected that these aren't going to be seeing any more reprints like ever. And I really enjoyed like that, when I first got into Magic, there was definitely this idea that you wanted to be the winner of the event. The winner of the event, and it's sort of like this hero building, the star building that they did, and they focused a lot of time and attention in their marketing dollars on saying like, look at how well this person plays Magic. We put their names on every card in their deck and we gave you their deck, right? Mm-hmm. And then they've kind of done nothing since about 5 to 6 years ago, but do anything but run as far away as they can from that ideal. And so it's a fascinating time capsule almost of what was going on with Magic at the time. All right. Let's move on here to number 4. Nerd Girl, what you got?
So my number 4 is my last secret lair. I will say, guys, I totally misunderstood. I thought these were just promotional items. So there isn't any ways to play Magic on my list, which now I very much regret because I'm thinking of all these cool things I would have probably put on here. Okay. But I really like when Wizards does any sort of promotional thing for charity. I have been very involved with them. I've gone up to Wizards headquarters and did some of their, like Extra Life things and stuff. So number 4 on my list is one that I didn't personally, interact or promote with Wizards, but I thought it was really cool just the same. And that is the Secret Lair Black is Magic. It kind of had a pretty big uproar on Twitter. People really liked the art a lot. I think it has some very wholesome art. And the thing I like the most about it is that the proceeds all went towards a good cause. And that was, they all went to Black Girls Code, which is an organization that empowers women of color in the online and digital space. So I thought that was a really good cause and something that Wizards did that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, this was like, for me, a slam dunk. I got one of them right up there because I was like, my goodness, these cards look amazing. They're all fantastic. There's tons of value in here. There's the Cultivate. There's a Kaya Ghost Assassin. There's Path of Ancestry. There's a Ponder in there. A Soul Ring, which looks amazing. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, which looks even better. It's incredible. Along with a Shalai, Voice of Plenty. And so this package altogether of 7 cards was just worth it for $40. It just was it's
absolute home run.
Yeah.
The Teferi, Hero of Dominaria art, Papa Teferi with Nyambi and his wife, whom I'm forgetting the name of, is going to be a nominee for Art of the Year for the Mixies for sure. I mean, 100%. And the story that each of the cards tell, the Soul Ring being a traditional African, soul ring, the Cultivate with the kids planting the tree. I mean, all of the story behind each piece of art was spectacular. And I mean, everything about this product was fabulous.
Yeah.
I like that each piece of art really represents, something a little bit different, and you can see where the artist was coming from in what they wanted to show or represent. And I think they're all just amazing.
And if I recall correctly, all of the artists were people of color as well.
Yes.
So that was, again, this thing was just front to back terrific. And from what I can tell, it did very, very well, which is great for all the parties involved, which is fantastic. All right. So for my number 4 here, I could argue this doesn't necessarily fit the category. I don't really care, but whatever. The point is, this was a supplementary product that had never existed before that Wizards made out of basically whole cloth. And they've reiterated it many times over the years. And as they have reiterated it, they have basically gotten better and better at it to the point where I think you really did hit the monumental peak of master sets with double masters. Double masters is my number 4. It's just a fantastic master set. It also showed that there is a market for very expensive cards, and that's honestly where you see the Modern Horizons. You see the new remaster stuff. You see the Modern Horizons 2 or whatever, which are really expensive. Where double masters were like, look, we're going to sell you $100 packs, which blew everyone's mind. They were the VIP boosters or whatever. I can't remember exactly what they called them, because I got one of those over here, which was ridiculous. The VIP edition, everybody. Woo! Yeah. And it was a shiny box. You bought them in cases of 4 or whatever. Everything in here was foil. You got 2 rares guaranteed. Wizards got in a bunch of trouble because they said you could get 2 mythics, but you could never get 2 mythics. You could only get a rare and a mythic max. So if you really were upset about that at the time, you could send in your UPC code and they would send you another pack, I think it was. This was years ago. But yeah, it was really weird there for a minute. But ultimately, the idea of double masters as a set full of value and the box toppers, the VIP pack that was $100 a whack, that did sell. All of that stuff sold. So when we go back to the masters well, and they're going, let's keep going, because there's a ceiling there of degeneracy that we have yet to hit. Period.
It is going up and up. And each time I hear of some new scheme for these, triple VIP, the master sets, I'm just like, what is happening?
Shiny.
I don't even know. Some of there's 7 versions of rares. The day they come out, these aren't even reprints. They're like, well, you can get this and this and this. You get extended and foil and this, but then you can get alternate art, and then that can be extended and that can be foiled, and then you get the promo version in the box with the. I'm just like, I feel so bad for the people who work for card stores that have to input all of the different costs and things into the database. I'm just like, how do you even...
The new convention, the new Mystery Booster Convention Edition, that all the test cards don't have a Planeswalker symbol in the bottom left. So now that's 123 brand new cards that didn't exist before. It's exhausting.
But. Yeah, I this is cool. I mean, double masters in general, I feel like might not qualify, but certainly the Double Masters box toppers qualify, and we haven't really talked about the box toppers yet. That to me was another, I mean, could have deserved its own spot on the list.
Sure.
It's not on anybody's list, is it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Double Masters box toppers were the talk of the town for a full month.
Oh, yeah.
What did you get in your box topper? What did you get in your box topper? Did somebody open the Force of Will? Did somebody, get the Mana Crypt? Or did you accidentally
the Liliana? This guy.
Did you get the Liliana?
This guy.
There you go.
I opened Liliana. It was sick.
Oh darn! I only opened the Urza's power plant. I merely got $70, right? Or 70 excitement points.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I
much
mean,
excitement.
I think that's such a cool idea. Those were all spectacular as well.
I mean,
10 out of 10.
I'm ready for triple masters. Let's go. Come on.
Right.
3 rares a pack. Who cares? It's all the same cardboard. Let's move on. To number 3, Ruben, what you got?
My number 3, I hinted at a little bit. San Diego Comic-Con promos premiered in 2013 and obviously deserve to have their own spot on the list. But in 2014, you did get black on black Corset Planeswalkers. These, of course, illustrated by the Eisner Award winning artist Jay Lee, famous for Inhuman, or Inhumans #2. But I mean, that's cool and all, but you also got a Nerf Garrick axe. That's the coolest thing ever. As soon as we were like random Magic stuff, I was like, Garrick axe has to go on the list. So I put it on the list with the 2014 Planeswalkers.
Nice.
So I also did the grind for the Garruk axes, and because the box was way long. I could not fit them in my car. We had to take multiple trips because, when you go to Comic-Con, you all kind of pack into a car because parking is a nightmare.
Yeah.
So we were 2 of us sitting in the back, and we had them across our laps to the ceiling and pushed out. We literally couldn't fit. And it was super awkward. We had to take 2 trips. Someone had to sit on the curb with a
giant stack.
Thousands of dollars of these stacks of Garruk axes. What I ended up doing with half of them is I went to the TO and I was like, will you buy these Garruk axes off of me? And they were like, yeah, we'll give them away as prizes. So we ripped open the boxes and sold the axes separately so we could actually transport the damn things. It was such a huge box.
Yeah.
They never did that again. This was the one and done.
Well, they were a nightmare to ship. Yeah. Definitely.
I still have one. I've got one Garruk axe chilling in the corner that I'm waiting for a good cause to open and hit somebody with.
Nice. Or you could just bring it down to my LARP and actually hit somebody with it. But yeah, I've seen them at Alex Kessler has one in his office. And when I was down there helping out with Masters of Modern for a while, it was right above the computer where I was doing the editing on.
Nice.
Every time I see one, it makes me happy. I mean, it just is it's a thing that sits in my brain and makes me happy.
I'm glad whoever, somebody had to champion that. Somebody had to go to so-and-so and had to make the pitch and do the presentation and say it was worth it. All these extra costs, all these extra shipping costs and the box and also God bless that person for all the effort they did because it was a sweet product. All right, Nerd Girl, what's your number 3?
So my number 3 is one of the 2 that, again, was a little bit questionable because I thought it was a promotional package of a thing that you could purchase or whatever that came in a set. That was my understanding of the homework. And this was a little different, but I love them so much. I decided to put them on anyway. And that is the Guru Lands.
Ooh.
It was something that you could get as a special thing that Wizards did. If you were if you were teaching people Magic, you could submit this form and they would send you a Guru Land. This is something I had a set of at one point, and I think that they're just really pretty and one of my most prized possessions for a long time. They're really awesome.
They're $1 million. Wizards had what was called the Guru Program. The Guru Program was created to promote Magic the Gathering gurus who would teach Magic to new players and receive points towards special promotional items. It began in July 1999 with the release of Starter. Remember that product? That was something. And they stopped taking new members in October 2000, officially closing in February 2001. Because hot damn, these lands are amazing and sweet, and they're just really good. There was a little window. There was a tiny, tiny window when no one really cared much about them. A little bit, $10 here, $20 there, not a big deal. And then someone like turned around one day and was like, these are basically reserve list cards. And they just went to the moon. Like, pew, and that was it.
Yeah, Guru lands they're reserve list cards. You're absolutely right. They were extremely difficult to get because you had to be a part of the Guru program, which was in conjunction with Starter, which wasn't exactly the most popular rollout of a Magic product ever. Then you had to do some training, send in rebate coupons, and get mailed back your Guru lands based on how many Guru points you'd had amassed. Yes. It was a difficult thing to even understand now. But once you did, they mailed you, $10,000 in 2021 basic lands. And they do look gorgeous. I mean, every single one of them is amazing. If you've ever seen them, I had a friend at an old card shop who used to use them for his limited decks. He just had enough to have for all of his limited decks, because that is a huge flex.
That's a flex. How much do you think the island's going for these days?
I'll say 1,500.
Just a hair below at $1,350. So you too can have a $1,300 land if you teach somebody Magic. Absolutely insane.
I think I had my set in like 2014, and they definitely were not that high at the time, but they were still very high. I think it was like 400-ish. For the island at that point. Just
like they just did like this, this giant plateauing thing that those old cards do, where they're fine, and then all of a sudden, boop, you have $1,000 whatever, and you're like, oh my god, what happened?
And they'll never not be in standard. That's the thing about collecting those rare basic lands is they're never gonna stop being cool.
Yeah,
and you can always use them. It's like having a nice pair of shoes that you can wear to every event. You can go to every wedding, you can go to every funeral, every bar mitzvah. Go to church on Sundays, and they'll always be good. They'll always be relevant. Your other cards might cycle out of standard. They might, break the reserved list, but Guru lands will always be in style.
That's right.
That's the nice thing about it. Like, it doesn't matter what format you play, you can always flex them, right? Which I think makes them a premium product for anybody who's interested in that sort of clout. Whether that's EDH or whatever. I had one friend who had one basic land in his EDH deck, and it was an island, a Guru island.
Nice. Well, I mean, if you're going to flex, right?
Yeah.
Go big flex. Well, my number 3 here was released this year. This is a product that I absolutely loved. This is a product that I keep hearing rumors they're going to make more of, and I certainly hope so, because I hear rumors about Lorwyn Remastered, but Time Spiral Remastered, which is right up there next to my head, right there at the end of my finger. That is the set. That is the bomb. I got me some of that because being able to relive Time Spiral in a limited environment is incredible. The old border cards in every pack was just brilliant, and they didn't even know how brilliant they thought it was good. It was unbelievable. So those cards were incredible. So the value involved was nuts. The nostalgic value was nuts. The idea of creating basically a whole new product line that just says, you like that nostalgia, you remember how good it felt to play Return to Ravnica or whatever it was, we're going to package all that up and resell it to you. And I'm just like, here you go. Just chalk off the dollar bills for you. Because it's
take
great.
My money.
Please.
The meme, right? The take my money meme.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah. I loved Time Spiral Limited. You got a very similar pack opening experience with Time Spiral Remastered. Old bordered versions of cards like Containment Priest, Mystic Confluence, Gurmag Angler, just a bunch of playable cards in the formats that people play. So Pauper, Legacy, Commander. You might not necessarily you might think to yourself, why is there a Teamer Battle Rage as an old bordered card? Well, because it's very popular in one format. And so they did that, and they made all these old bordered cards, and they didn't even realize what they had. And it's just a beautiful product and a beautiful conversion of a Masters set with the Masters feel to it, or a remastered set.
I like it. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to the next remaster product. I just, it's too easy to bet on the next one at this point, in my opinion. It went too freaking well. It's crazy. Ruben, what's number 2?
So my list has actually turned out somewhat interesting in a way, because I think Mercadian Masks was in my, like, the bottom 10 sets of all time, but I have it on my list as one of the top 10 non-pack products. Sorin versus Tybalt is on my list as one of the top 10. Tybalt is like the worst planeswalker ever. So I've done something accidentally here where I've taken something very, very bad and found something good about it. And there's very little that has gone worse for Hasbro than HasCon. But there's very little that has gone better at HasCon than the initial 2017 HasCon promos, which were Grimlock Dinobot Leader that transformed into Grimlock Ferocious King, the Nerf War, and the Sword of Dungeons and Dragons. And these were available at HasCon in 2017, and they were awesome. They were just so much fun. They were great crossover products, and I loved it.
And I got a phone call, and they said, Evan, there's a giant stack. There's a stack as tall as you in the hallway at HasCon. $40 a pop. How many do you want? I said, I'll take one. Should have bought a couple more. Been a good idea.
How much are they now?
Last I looked, they were $150, but they could be different, as in $150. But yeah, maybe things have changed. I don't know.
And then Ponies the Gathering was the next year.
Hey.
We don't know what's on lists, people.
Fine.
Look who's talking, Ruben.
Yeah, wow. Oh, I see some for 300 here.
I took a gamble.
I see, 300, 270. When somebody's trying to run one for 500, like, these are just going up and up and up. And this is one of those things where, I mean, at the time, they didn't sound very successful. They sounded a little bit ridiculous. Like, they had silver bordered cards that nobody could really play with. There's a Transformers card, but no one's going to really build a Transformers deck. That doesn't exist. And so there was a giant question mark there. But that little voice back there was going, man, you should probably buy more than one. And I'm like, I got children and bills. And they're like, but maybe just 2, It
did also include the gold dragon token, which the Sword of Dungeons and Dragons makes when you roll a natural 20.
Nice.
And the art on the gold dragon token is the art that is in the monster manual for adult gold dragon.
Nice.
Or ancient gold dragon. I think it's ancient gold dragon.
Yeah. So yeah, this whole set right here is very nice, and I liked it a lot, and I enjoyed
amazing.
It's cool, and and also to see Sword of Dungeons and Dragons, that was reprinted in Unstable. You're right. So yeah, to see that in Unstable was really cool. Again, it kind of debuted in a From the Vault type product. I'll take it. I enjoyed it. All right. Nerd Girl, what's number 2?
My Little Ponies.
Yeah. Well,
seriously?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What I did
this was 2018 HasCon, is that right?
2019. See, HasCon was supposed to be a bi-yearly event.
Yes.
Did they? I didn't even know if they did it at HasCon. I thought it was just their Extra Life promotion, because that's how I got it.
Is that not right? I don't.
No, I'm pretty sure that it was supposed to. Oh no, it was supposed. You're right. It was supposed to be at HasCon,
but then they
canceled HasCon.
Right.
But they'd already printed the ponies.
Right.
So they did this big promotional push. I actually went up to Wizards myself and did this 12-hour stream nonstop. It was super fun. They had arena sleeves. They had a set of 4 arena My Little Pony sleeves, which were very exclusive, and now you can't really get them. And I have those. Those are really awesome. So yeah, they had this promotional pony pack. It's got 3 cards. One of them is a double-sided, so there's 4 total arts. I think they are super cute, and all of the proceeds, again, just like the Black is Magic, went to Extra Life, which is something that I do for the last couple of years, and me and my community are very active with that. So participating with Wizards on that product, not the product itself, but on that promotion with the My Little Pony stuff, just kind of made it very near and dear to my heart.
It was great. I mean, this is the stuff that I had spent years asking Wizards to do, was to take things that are relatable that you can do anything in pop culture. I don't care what it was, but like magicize it, right? Like put it into Magic. You can do it. Magic is so like the color wheel is so incredible and so evocative of emotions and state changes and like the telling a story based on abilities and all this other stuff you get to do. And so to be able to take any product and turn it into a Magic product, well, I mean, hello, that's what we're going to start doing with our Universes Beyond. We're move past our secret layers and on to other things. So this was kind of where that started, honestly, where they kind of embraced it, was the Hascon stuff.
They're so cute. And one of the ponies, the galloping, I did misspeak, references cards that aren't in Magic or have not been printed as promotional cards. One of them requires you to do something with a My Little Pony toy. That's what I meant to say. A little bit of a spoonerism there. And transform it. And it has the reminder text, "Gifts are appreciated," which is adorable. In addition, they also had playmats for all of the ponies. The double-sided playmat was the transformable Princess Luna as well. So
yeah, there was a set that were sold for $100 that you could get. I have no idea what those are worth. I haven't even looked anywhere close. I'm guessing
on eBay, it looks like the cheapest ones selling right now are $170. They were $50 at the time.
They were very expensive at the time still, but
they did this like whole promotion where like everything went to charity. It was a combination of the sleeves on Arena. They did a Moto sleeve as well, and a Moto logo. You can actually have a little My Little Pony logo, which is something again you don't really see very often. So I just thought it was a very good package, all going to a very good cause.
Yeah, and it just made some really cool promos, so I really liked that as well. That was awesome. All right, so for my number 2 here, this is a product that was released just a few years ago. I was complaining about it just a minute ago because in 2019, when we still had all the Grand Prix, and we still had not only Grand Prix, we had Magic Fest. Remember, we had every single weekend would have an event somewhere. Even every single weekend we'd have an event with coverage somewhere. Well, they also said, hey, what if we made a Magic set that we gave away at these giant events? And they called it the Mystery Booster. And they had this whole fun thing with Gavin in the suitcase. Remember that? Gavin in the suitcase with the packs and whatever, and debuting it at the show, which was really cool. And I'll never forget, I was having I was talking to somebody at work, and it's cool stuff. And they're just like, I don't think those test cards are going to be worth anything at all, because people don't like those things. And I'm just like, dude, I think those are going to be worth $1 million, because they're going to be so hard to get. They're super weird. They do crazy stuff. And it turns out that honestly, a lot of them were just Magic cards down the pipe. They just wanted to show you them kind of early with some silly wordings and or silly artwork, because multiple Mystery Booster cards now, test cards, have turned themselves into real Magic cards. So
yeah, I know a lot of them have really, really spiked in price. I did a lot of the side events at that GP where we actually had them. And I got a couple of like loose packs that I've been saving. What they started doing is, because people wanted the packs so much, is that they started cutting a piece of the pack before giving you the stuff in the event, because people were taking them, signing up for a sealed pool and then leaving and selling the packs to a vendor, because the entry to the sealed was cheaper than what the vendors were buying those packs for. They were super hot commodity. Yes. And I still have a couple of like the non-clipped ones from like day one of the event. And I'm kind of glad they're reprinting them. It's super fun.
The Slivdrazi Monstrosity is currently $470. The Sliv Mizzet Hive Mind is $260. The Tibalt's $130. So like, and everything else below that is just below $100. Oh, snap. So like, these things are insane. And my goodness, I love them. I think they're super cool. Like, I thought they were neat just because they did a bunch of weird stuff.
They know not what they do.
They
They print limited edition cards that they have their R&D members illustrate. They didn't know what they were doing with this. They usually I feel like they do. I don't think they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Even if you like kind of forget about those promo cards and what they're worth and their silly and wonkiness, the set itself is actually really interesting and unique to play as far as limited goes. I did a Wizards podcast. I went up to the headquarters and did an actual draft with a bunch of people, mostly content creators and people who were very involved with that set. And it was a blast. Every single time you opened a pack, there was like a walk down memory lane. Nice. A lot of iconic rares, not necessarily worth money, but things that were very impactful to people who've been playing Magic for 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that you had a bunch of awesome cards that were still sweet, like there was nothing wrong with like the set in and of itself. It's just that the test cards were so weird, wacky. They just kind of got all the attention. But you can still pull a Mana Crypt from one of these boosters. One of the issues, honestly, was that the set was huge. 1,695 cards, huge. So good luck pulling the Mana Crypt. It does exist in there somewhere. All right, let's move here to our number one. Ruben, what's number one?
Like I said, I had my top four. Just I pounded it out immediately. I knew exactly what my top four was going to be, and I had them in order: 1, 2, 3, 4. There was never a world where Secret Lair: The Walking Dead wasn't going to be my number one.
Okay.
There just was not. It just wasn't going to happen. Secret Lair: The Walking Dead has been a paradigm shifting Magic product on a scale that is kind of hard to comprehend and that we really haven't seen before. It is by far the most popular Secret Lair. It is the first time that they've taken a strictly non-Wizards of the Coast IP and made a thing that the HasCon promos were something, the ponies were something, but The Walking Dead is a whole nother kettle of fish. And there was serious worry that Rick Steadfast Leader or Glenn, the voice of calm, were going to be a problem in older formats because they, if they were good and like vintage playable, that was going to ruin vintage because they're not played, that you can't get them anywhere. Rick is still $40. So, this was a big collector's item, particularly for collectors of Walking Dead stuff and not even Magic stuff.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen people on Twitter that angry about a promotional product. I cannot think of a thing that caused more of a stir. And it's just because of that one card. People didn't want something that was going to be basically a necessity to play a format to be locked behind a time-sensitive collector item. And I totally get that. I think that, what they did with The Walking Dead and stuff is fine and exciting for a lot of people. But then, to have that paired with this exclusivity thing where you need it to play the game was just a whole new can of worms.
Yeah, it's a lot. And, it's also one of those things that I was very not happy about the move, basically because this was like one of the most greedy type moves they could make, which is not only are we now selling singles, we're selling new singles that we're never going to sell again, which was a huge, serious, my God, you want to talk about a river you can't uncross. So once they made that, they later came out and said, look, for the Universes Beyond stuff that isn't Magic IP, we're going to make in-world versions that we put into the slot of the list for the set boosters, but we're not going to do it for Walking Dead. And I just apoplectic, I think is the word or something. Yeah. I just lost my crap because I can't believe you'd make such an easy and good and like a quality fix. The fix was, I can't get these Magic cards anywhere else. Well, put them somewhere else in the world, no problem. Then don't do it for literally your flagship first go at it.
Especially for a zombie themed thing. Like they could a lot of the creatures made walker tokens. They could very easily just make zombie tokens for Innistrad. I'll tell you what I didn't realize was in this set. I want this treasure token that has Rick's hat on it. I didn't know that was in this thing. I want that thing.
That card is very cool. There's just a bunch of really cool stuff. I get they made some really cool stuff with it, right? This was neat. I thought this was cool. Yeah. But once you rip that off, you can't put the toothpaste back, man. You can't say we're not going to do that to our game because you did that to the game. You know what I mean? And that just bothered me.
Once you rip the cap off, wait. That was an interesting malapropism. Hold on. Once you rip the cap off, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
That's not exactly what that.
That's not exactly what that
works,
means.
because you got to squeeze the tube. We're getting weird here. All right.
I don't know what. Yeah.
Nerd Girl, what's number one?
So my number one is the second thing where I think I might be cheating our little like,
it's fine.
Weird product thing.
I put double
it's
masters
fine.
on
I'm just telling people. So this is not something that you can purchase in a set. You can get them from vendors. It's not something that Wizards ever sold directly. And it is the thing I own that I am the most excited about and I cherish the most. And that is the holiday collector cards.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I honestly
Great
didn't
choice.
really care about them much until I got my first one. And now I'm obsessed. And I had to go back and get all of them. The flavor text is amazing on these. They come out each Christmas since 06. And they've been coming out every year since. Flavor text, the art, they are all 10 out of 10. They're super fun and super cute. And they all have some sort of like Christmas theme, like the fruitcake elemental. There is one where goblins are beating each other to death over the holidays, which is super fun. Seasons beatings. And like the flavor text on that card is chef's kiss. It's so cute. And these are the most adorable thing that I have and collect them with much joy.
Yeah, this is one of those things where, first of all, kudos for Wizards to keep this up. Like, this is one of those things that I can imagine after 5 or 6 years, you're like, do we really want to keep making these type thing? But they're super cool. I love them. Wizards would sometimes send me one and sometimes not. I could never really figure out when. Yeah. I mean, I guess sometimes they didn't like me and sometimes they did. But either way, these cards were super cool and were just a nice sort of end cap for the year. I mean, just a little cherry on top.
I've played cubes with these before. Gifts Given is probably the best of them.
One of the most expensive.
Card is extremely powerful in cube.
Yes.
I had Decorated Night on the artist list. I believe. I mean, Naughty Nice is hilarious. The Snow Mercy tap on tap is hilarious. I mean, they're all adorable and amazing.
Yeah, they're really sweet. And I've enjoyed all of them to various lengths, Mishra's Toy Workshop and stuff. It's just awesome. Yeah. All right. So for my number one, this was a product that was released last year. I don't know if you can still get any because it is really hard to find Jumpstart. Jumpstart to this day is hard to find. Jumpstart to this day is freaking brilliant. I went on and on about it when we talked about them coming out with it and how hard it was to find. They're literally about to make Jumpstart Horizons, which is going to make Wizards a God knows how much money, because it's a brilliant idea. It's the idea that you can have a limited product where you don't have to know limited. You put A and B together, you smack the chocolate and the peanut butter, you shuffle up and ready to go. That's all you got to do. Like, taking that concept and running with it, I want to see a 50 card partner commander deck and another 50 card partner commander deck that I shuffle together and we can play. That to me sounds awesome. And so this idea, the concept of limited without knowing limited or limited without deck building, I just think is absolutely brilliant and I cannot get enough of it. That's why it's my number one.
Jumpstart is such a good idea. I mean, it's dual decks, but instead of giving 2 decks, it's giving you 75, right? Yeah. It has endless replayability value.
And you can make your own, seriously.
By the time you've played every combination, you know how to play Magic.
Basically, yeah.
Brilliant.
And so the cards that were in there, the mythics and stuff, were super valuable. I mean, Nerd Girl, you tell me, how game-changing was this product for you? Did you care that much or what?
So it wasn't necessarily game-changing for me. I think it waters down limited as a format a little bit, but it was still very fun and exciting to explore. I think it is one of the best tools that Wizards has made for new players or for players that just want to play with their friends, that don't necessarily share format interest or anything like that. It gives you this nice overlap where everybody's on a very similar ground. Mm-hmm. What I love the most about Jumpstart is how it introduces things in small, manageable bites. If you have a format that introduces so much of what Magic does and you mix it together and you have someone draft or do a sealed, it's hard to take a big clump of cards and sort out those themes. But now you've got tokens and +1/+1 counters. Like you said, you smack them together. And now you have to only really manage and learn just those two things. And then next time you get one of the same ones and a new one. And you're like, being able to digest things in these small little snippets really helps people learn the game in a way that is manageable and not overwhelming, which makes them enjoy the game more and become lasting players. And I love that about the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think knowing that they kind of sort of threw out there that they had been working on Jumpstart Horizons for about a year. And then you think a year ago that the response to Jumpstart was just like overwhelmingly, oh my God, this is brilliant. And so for them to already buy back in with a Marina product was A+.
Yeah, I mean, if you think it was the Magic Mikesies format of the year in a year where no one could get their hands on the physical product because of COVID and delay issues and a lot of other things, but it was so obviously another type of paradigm shift. Just a brilliant product for getting people on board into Magic.
All right. And that was our top 10 specialty products. You'll see them on screen right now for your review. Take a look at my list, Nerd Girl's list, Ruben's top 10, and we want to hear from you about what card we did not talk about. And we'll select our favorite to win a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com. But before we go, I want to thank my co-host. Thank you, Nerd Girl.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. What a fun list this was to do and hear all of your additions. And man, what a great trip down memory lane.
That was a good one. All right. We went here to our final slide. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsors, CardHoarder.com and AlterSleeves.com, my co-hosts, MTG Nerd Girl and Ruben Bressler. You guys for watching and listening. I hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. Follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at Twitch.tv at Magic Mikes, on Twitter at Magic Mikes Cast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.